In one of my last videos, you watched me make over my makeup brushes, but now the case looks really bad and it doesn't fit. So today's video is about making over my makeup brush case. And this is a very easy DIY for beginning sewers. So let's get to it. The supplies you will need is some interfacing. This is lightweight. Next, have some fabric for your main material source. I'm using this jersey floral pattern and it looks great with my makeup brushes. So keep those in mind when you're making this project. Next, get some mesh. This is what's going to hold your makeup brushes in place on your makeup holder, and I decided to use black mesh. I got this silver material for my bias taping, and you could use bias tape if you want. Lay out your old makeup brush case on your interfacing, and then start laying out your makeup brushes. Look how cool they look! Okay, so besides that, lay out your makeup brushes so they all get their own individual spot and they have enough space to go in and out. This is going to be the base of it, your makeup case. Draw a line where you need to cut and then cut it out. Usually don't eyeball this, that way you have a perfect shape. Take out your fabric and fold one side. Make sure that you don't need to waste fabric if you don't need to. And then lay your interfacing on top and make sure that you have enough space to cut around it so you don't have any extra. Then pin it, just like this. So special, just kidding. It will look like this when it's properly folded and cut out. Obviously, you can see that I want very little scraps on this and I want to maximize the use of this piece of material. So I am going to be placing my fabric at the edge of the fold and then cut one piece out. This is going to give me both the front and the back with one easy piece of fabric. Next, get out your mesh material. You're going to be lining this up in the middle of your interfacing and use the edges to help you. I'm using the salvage edge because it's already finished and it will not fray, so there's no extra work to be done there. Place your mesh in the middle of your interfacing and begin cutting it out. I didn't bother pinning because I cut out exactly half of the interfacing and you don't need any seam allowance for this piece of material. Just be careful not to snag it on your scissors and open it very wide and then cut. This is what it looks like when you have finished with cutting the mesh layer out. Now begin lining up your fabric on top of your interfacing with your mesh on top. Make sure that you have the correct sides where they need to be and make sure that everything is nice and even and then pin it. Now that everything's pinned, sew the bottom 3 flares together and then sew the left and the right sides. And you should have a little bit of the fabric hanging over. Don't worry, that is completely what's supposed to be happening. Once you have completely secured the sides, begin sewing on the mesh and stop at the salvage or stop at the bottom depending on which way you're sewing it. This is now going to be the part where you need to test out whether your makeup brushes will fit and take your time with this. It's a lot of fun and it's pretty therapeutic just to sew straight lines, and this will help make everything nice and snug. Here you can kind of tell, I'm sorry I used black thread, but I have sewed all of the little makeup brush lines in and they're nice and straight. This is a great therapeutic way, and you can see on the back that I had sewed it. Now that you have finished adding all your brush lines, we're going to take that extra lip of fabric and then close the back. So go ahead and pin it down and then sew it closed so now you can no longer see the interfacing. This is going to hide the seams of the makeup brush holder lines so it won't come through the back side of the fabric and you get a nice clean backing. Now take out some scissors and cut off any of the excess edge that you don't need. This is totally optional, but I did have a little bit too much fabric on the edges, and so I'm just clipping it off so it's nice and even for when I add the bias tape. Now after cutting out all that excess junk, we're going to be adding the bias tape, and since my fabric is a 4-way stretch, it doesn't really matter how I cut it, but make sure it is facing one side in and go ahead and sew it down. And you'll be able to see here what I mean because you're going to be flipping it over. So make sure the right side is facing inward and then you're going to flip the fabric on the other side. So what I meant to say is sew right sides facing to the fabric so you can flip it and then you can curl in the other side and it will look very nice like this. So you can have two sides that are even and it will just be nothing but bias tape and no raw edges. because I had used pleather, I had to hand sew it down with a slip stitch, and it looks amazing. Now keep one side open on the perimeter with the bias tape. We're going to add one long piece of fabric string, and since I'm using jersey, pull it tight, kind of like t-shirt material, and it's going to curl inward, and we're going to secure this with a zigzag stitch on our sewing machine. Place this new strip of fabric in the middle of the unfinished bias tape edge and sew it there. You can use the sewing machine. I just thought it would be nice to show you some hand sewing. And then once you're done hand sewing that in, sew the bias tape closed and you are done. This is what the finished makeup brush bag looks like. It is a rolling case and you secure it with the little strap. And I have to admit, I'm very proud of this DIY. I hope you guys really liked it. And this is what it looks like with all the brushes going in and out. It has all their own little spaces and it just looks amazing. I had an extra spot so I can put makeup pads or sponges. And this is what it looks like when it's rolled up. And it's just really nice, quick and easy. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, or if you want to say hi, like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you are not subscribed to my channel already. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my other videos for awesome DIY goodness.